Hi, this is a basic intro to Pixel Nodes 2. Let's go through the UI. So first we have new projects, open projects. These are old projects I made. You can save the project and there's a more button. So we got tutorials. These are dynamic tutorials, so there's a step-by-step guide of building these different visuals. There's share, so Pixel Share. You can share your projects if you have a Pixel account. Resolution, Pixel Nodes is limited to 1000 pixels in width by a 16:9 aspect ratio. There's subscriptions for full HD resolution. There's settings. This info shows detailed information in the parameters panel I'll go through later. We got 16-bit. This is a little bit more advanced, but it's high-bit color. Cook bar is more of a performance monitoring, and pixel interpolation is if you were going to work with pixel art. Turn this on. Okay, let's get through it. The nodes. The first thing you'll see in the node panel is Pix. So these are the texture nodes. We got everything from camera to circle, different graphics. So let's drop it on a circle. Look at that. So their defaults set up at 1000 by 562 pixels. And then you can change the position by an XY parameter. And you can change the radius. There's a bunch of settings. You can change colors. You can tap on these colors to get a color picker. Edge color won't be visible until you slide up the edge there. And then you also have pre-multiply alpha and resolution. That is the circle. Let's look at some other nodes. Gradient, this is a classic one. We can have a horizontal or vertical gradient, radial or angular. You can change the scale of the gradient, the offset, and then extend ramp is pretty interesting because it lets you loop and mirror the values. So if we put 0 here, you can see the areas outside of 0 and 1. You can loop it or mirror it to get different effects. And then you can add a bunch of color stops. Anyway, let's look at the next node. What do we have here? Paint. You can paint if you have an Apple Pencil. It does work with your finger too. Simple painting. The paint does have options for Pix overlay. If you want to paint over another Pix, just drag in a Pix there. And then let's look at some more nodes. We got threshold. So these are effects. They have inputs and outputs, so they need some other input to work. So if we create a noise and drag in the noise to the threshold, you see we can get a black and white effect. There's a bunch of different effects you can play around with. One note with blur is that it's pretty heavy. Gaussian is quicker than box. Box is kind of a legacy option. And then there's a bunch of other blurs, for example Luma blur. So Luma blur works in a way where it will blur the first input based on the second input. So if we have a noise here and look at this, we can see that it blurs the right side of the noise as the pixels are white there. Okay, That's an overview of pix. Next we're going to check out val. Okay, so vals, these are values that you can use to animate your other parameters of other node families. So if we have a circle, for example, let's create a circle, and then we can take a LFO val, and this is just a low frequency oscillator that you can change it from a sine to ramp to a triangle, different animation curves, and you can hook up these vals. These vals are special because they work as inputs to all the parameters. So you can hook up the circle radius to this LFO. Another example is, for example, you can use OSC. If you will have an OSC app and sending messages over open sound control, you can get those messages in and control pix or other nodes. You can use gyroscope, you can use accelerometer. Audio is a little experimental, but it should work. Okay, next let's go over geos. So geos are new. Geos are 3D elements, geometry, and they're pretty experimental, but I wanted to put it in there so you can test it out. When you have a node selected, you can scroll it in 3D. If you don't have it selected, you can move the node. And then you can use material if you want to use a pix as a material. You can pipe that in. So geos, we can have you can create a capsule, a cone. You can merge these into one, and you can do different effects. Material for piping in pix, and then if you want to render this to a texture, to a pix, you go down and you create a render pix, and you pipe in that geo, and that way you can render those geometries out to a pix. There's also GUI for creating simple user interfaces. This is very experimental, but if you want to have a switch, a toggle, you can hook this up to control your pix. By the second output of the GUI is a val output, so you can hook that up to something like radius. Anyway, that's a quick overview of Pixel Nodes 2. I hope you like it. More videos will come soon. Thank you.